I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
This will be our final episode of 2024, and we've got probably one of the greatest films ever made, definitely an all-time classic, The Sound of Music. Yeah, this is like Julie Andrews. It's 1 year after she played Mary Poppins, and here she is playing another singing nanny.
You know, go with what works for you.
Yeah, but this is actually based on a true story. Kind of.
Sorta.
Sorta.
A little bit.
The people in this story actually existed, but the events might be fictionalized. It's based off a musical, Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music, which was based off a movie called The Trapp Family, which was based off the real Maria von Trapp's memoirs called The Trapp Family Singers. So it's an adaptation of an adaptation of an adaptation, which is why we say it's sort of kind of true.
Yeah, broad strokes of it are true. The interesting thing is that I have seen the German movie that kind of all of this was based on, the Trapp Family. Of course, it was an English dub, but it was pretty good. It's not as memorable, of course, as Sound of Music, but it is closer to the real story in a lot of ways.
Ironically, it was Fox that released The Trapp Family in the U.S., which explains why this is a Fox film.
Yeah.
Of course, the Von Trapp family, or the Trapp family, however you would prefer to call them.
Well, let me explain this, because this is actually kind of very interesting about whether or not they're the Von Trapp family or the Trapp family.
Okay.
Okay? And this does go back to kind of the reason this entire thing happened. That Von in the name is originally a marker of nobility in Germanic and Austrian and, in that region. Mm-hmm. So Von is kind of a marker of your membership in the noble aristocratic classes for a lot of people, okay? So, when the Nazi German annexation of Austria happened, and also just the Nazi Party took over Germany, a lot of people who wanted to make themselves seem more Aryan added Von to their family name in order to show their affiliation to the Nazi Party. And a lot of people who already legitimately had that as part of their family name, like the Von Trapps, took it out of their family name in order to show their disagreement with Nazi ideology. So, the reason they went from the Von Trapp Family Singers, which they were for some time, and this is one of the big things between the movie. I'm assuming if you're listening to this and are, a human over the age of 10 years old, you have seen The Sound of Music 14 times already.
It just recently aired on television as of
Oh yeah, it does every Christmas. So having just passed Christmas here, you have seen it, I'm sure. In Sound of Music, they are called the Von Trapps because they are still, the movie places them still in Austria at the time of the annexation. However, one of the big things that is different in the reality of the Trapp family is that they were already a known singing group prior to the annexation and had been traveling all over Europe for many years before the war and the annexation. So it wasn't like they became a singing group in exile. They were already a singing group supporting themselves because they weren't wealthy. They had lost all their money before Georg and Maria married. They were already pretty poor. That's another thing. They weren't living in a mansion. They weren't, they were better off than Maria had come from. So to her, that was moving up. But Georg's family, the Von Trapp side of the family, had lost their money in the Great Depression. And he had married for money, and then he lost it in the Great Depression. Another big thing is they set this at the time of the annexation in like 1938, and Maria and Georg actually married in 1927. So they were married for quite some time before the annexation of Austria. There are, the Sound of Music takes, they want it to be more fairy tale like. The reason they were the Von Trapp Family Singers was because they needed the money, and that's how the family made their money, was, the musical. But yeah, that the reason that they went from Von Trapp to Trapp is political ideology, really. He wanted Georg Trapp, wanted people to know, I am very anti-Nazi. So even though that was legitimately part of his name, politically he did not want people mistaking him for holding up that ideology.
Did not want to be seen as a sympathizer.
Yeah, and a lot of people at the time were just adding that Von in there to be like, look how Aryan I am. And he was like, even though I was legitimately born to the Austrian aristocracy, screw that. That's not what makes me Austrian. I'm Austrian because, that's my home country. That's my, that's where my heart is. That's where my patriotism is. And it has nothing to do with Aryanism or, Volk or any of these ridiculous ethnic ideologies that Hitler is putting forth. Mm-hmm. Which I gotta say, good for him.
We need more of that.
The reason that he was so wanted and by the party was that they don't really go into it because Sound of Music is trying to be, more lighthearted in their telling of this story. But Georg von Trapp was like the most successful naval officer in World War One. You know, that was on the opposing side from our particular nation, but he eventually came to the U.S. and his family came to the U.S. and so he ended his life in the U.S. But you know, at the time of World War One, he was fighting the Allied forces, but he was a submarine commander in World War One, fighting for Austria-Hungary at the time, and he was exceptionally good at his job.
And that's probably why they characterize him in the movie and the play as very strict, because he would have to be strict. Look how good of an officer he is.
He was not the guy you wanted to come up against in battle. Let's just say that. One of the children says in the movie, like, you know, did you hear that father got a medal from the monarch and stuff like that? Like, that's not just like he got a medal. He got like the medal. He was given the highest military honor that the Habsburgs could give at the time. He was like the dude. Okay.
So the Germans wanted him. The Nazis wanted him.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, his defection was kind of a big deal, in the sense that if he had not defected, he may have given Nazi Germany a bit of a leg up in naval warfare at the time. And I do not know how that would have impacted the war, but it couldn't have been a good thing. Yeah. So I'm glad that he was like, you know, screw this Nazi crap. I'm going to take my family and we're going to immigrate elsewhere. The U.S. was not their first port of call. Just saying they don't say where they go in the movie. It just shows them, like, you know, climbing over the mountains at the end just to get out. But like they bounced around because of like a quirk of geopolitics. They were able to leave and go to another country. I forget where, but they had citizenship somewhere else because of some quirk of politics. And so they went there for a little while, and then they went to like England for a little while, and then the US was not involved in the war yet, so they went there as refugees. Most of the family was still alive when this movie was made,
including Maria von Trapp herself.
Oh yeah, who is in the movie, which is weird because you can't really see her. It is right after Julie Andrews is right as she is walking under this giant arch in Salzburg. If you pause it right as she is walking under that huge arch, there are 3 women in the background. They're kind of tiny, but if you're watching it on a big screen, You can see them. There are 3 women that enter from the left side of the screen in the background. And that is the real Maria von Trapp is the oldest of the 3. And then the next oldest is one of Maria and Georg's daughters, because they had 3 children together who are not mentioned in this film. There were the 7 children that Georg had with his first wife that you do see mentioned in the film. And then once Maria and Georg got married, they had 3 more children together. So there were 10 Von Trapp children in total. Okay. So one of Maria and Georg's daughters is in there. And then one of I believe the other woman is one of Maria's granddaughters. I think that's the other woman. But she is also one of the Trapp family. Like I said, you have to pause it very quickly and you have to know what you're looking for. But those 3 are the real Maria, her daughter, and I believe her granddaughter. Sadly, Georg had already passed away by the time of, like, basically anything. Even the memoir that Maria wrote that all this is based on was written after Georg had died.
Well, Georg was much older than Maria.
Much older. There was 25 years difference between them, I think, when they were married.
Yeah, he was late 40s, she was early 20s.
Yeah. He barely survived the end of World War II. He died in 1947, I believe. And the book that she wrote came out in 1949. So the thing is as of this recording, as we are sitting here talking, there is one original member of the Trapp Family Singers that is still living. And that is the youngest child of Maria and Georg. His name is Johannes, and he is, at time of recording, 85 years old.
So the way we're going with this is that we have the memoir, which is written late 1940s. We get into that film, which was in the early 1950s, mid 1950s, is Rodgers and Hammerstein's The Sound of Music on Broadway, and now we skip to the mid 1960s where this film is being made. And I think I as you know, I was kind of going through my head as you were having your moment there, and I think everything clicked. The reason Georg is shown as strict in this movie, right before even the Broadway production of The Sound of Music, there was The King and I. And I think they kind of took that idea and applied it to their story. Because there's a lot of similarities in how the families are. But that's just my thing. That's just my opinion.
I mean, yeah, I could see that. When we're talking about this as a musical as well, this is the last Rodgers and Hammerstein musical, because Oscar Hammerstein died right after the Broadway premiere, less than a year after it premiered on Broadway. The last lyrics that Oscar Hammerstein would write would be the lyrics for Edelweiss, which makes that song hit even harder, as if it wasn't like enough of a gut punch song. The stage musical was the final collaboration for Rodgers and Hammerstein, and the movie has 2 songs in it that are new for the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And those were done without the input of Oscar Hammerstein. But Richard Rodgers wrote the lyrics and the music for those 2 songs, which are I Have Confidence in Something Good.
We've already talked about Julie Andrews. She's a legend. Like I said before, this was the next year after Mary Poppins, so she's already writing that.
Well, actually, she got cast in this before anybody knew her for Mary Poppins.
So she was still writing that stage production of My Fair Lady.
Well, yeah, but that doesn't mean that she was known to the general public. Like, if you were big into theater and you were lucky enough to go to theater, then you knew her. Supposedly, the story is that both the director, Robert Weiss, who we've talked about before, because we've mentioned him in passing when we talked about West Side Story, as he directed the original West Side Story. So when we talked about the Spielberg version, we mentioned him. He and Ernest Lehman, who wrote the screenplay for this version, they both wanted Julie Andrews, and there was kind of some pushback on that. They were able to pull some strings and go to Disney Studios and see some early footage from Mary Poppins. And apparently they looked at each other and they were like, okay, let's go sign her before anybody else sees a minute of this footage, or else we will never have access to her again. Because they were like, the second that this movie is released, she's going to be the biggest star on the planet. And they were right.
And they were right, yeah.
So she basically won the part. Lehman really wanted Julie Andrews and nobody else but Julie Andrews because he had seen her on stage. And Wise wasn't sold on that because he wanted somebody who the movie-going public would know better. I think Grace Kelly was one of his top picks. He was like, I don't like, Julie Andrews is good, but she might not like draw in the crowds because like everyday people don't know who she is. And they got wind of her being in Mary Poppins and they heard good things about it, and then they saw the test footage and they were like, oh yeah, no, this is going to be the biggest thing on the planet. And yeah.
And years later, Julie Andrews would get her own TV show, and there is a clip on YouTube from the Julie Andrews show of her and the real Maria von Trapp yodeling. And I would definitely recommend checking that clip out if you have not already.
Yeah, that is a great clip. And Julie Andrews always has had the best sense of humor. And it comes across in that clip.
Especially about herself.
Oh yeah, no, she's great.
Like, she fully knows, like, okay, I'm Mary Poppins, I'm gonna play this up.
We need a Captain Von Trapp, and we get Christopher Plummer, who, man, what a guy. The interesting thing is that he recorded his songs for this, and then they went and they dubbed him over.
Yeah, with voice actor Bill Lee, who his resume is too long. He's pretty much been every background character in every Disney movie you could think of.
I'm pretty sure we've talked about him before. He was one of the Mellow Men, and we've talked about them several times.
He was the singing voice of Roger, so he sang Cruella de Vil.
There's no way Roger could have known she was that evil that early in the movie. Billy also dubbed over John Kerr's voice in South Pacific, and he dubbed over John Gavin's voice in Thoroughly Modern Millie, another Julie Andrews classic. But you can find the Christopher Plummer original audio online if you look, because those recordings still exist. So if you really want to hear Christopher Plummer's voice, you can. Just takes a little Googling.
Eleanor Parker as the Baroness. How would I explain the Baroness as a character? Because
totally made up for the movie. Well, the play and
yeah. All. What I mean is, it's that all incentives in her first few appearances in the movie would make you assume that she is some sort of antagonist or rival, and yeah, that's not what happens in the rest of the play. It's really weird. But Eleanor Parker herself is a legend.
Yeah. Like I said, legend and also great talent. 3 Academy Award nominations. Sadly, no wins, but, things are what they are sometimes. The Baroness, you want to hate her, and at first it's like, because of what she says, where she's like, kind of throws out the bit about, hey, Maria, maybe you should go back to the nunnery. She doesn't really put it in so many words, but she does kind of lead Maria down that line of thought.
And when we first meet her in the movie, she's talking, well, he inherited money. I inherited money. We would have a lot of money if we were together, and I want that money. And, you would think, oh, she's a gold digger. She wants not only her fortune, but his fortune too. She seems very apprehensive of becoming a mother for the children. So you would think, oh, she's going to be a rival, a villain, and an antagonist in the movie. Yeah.
Other than the fact that she kind of says the thing to her friend about sending the children away to boarding school, she's not really that villainous in the movie entirely. It's obvious that she and Georg have had this relationship for a while before Maria comes into the picture. Because the children talk about, like, oh, he's always going to visit the Baroness, and we think that he's going to propose soon, and, and the maid or whatever, the cook or whoever she is like, that this trip will probably be the trip where he proposes or what, So it's obvious that this has been a courtship that's been going on a long time, and Maria is just stepping in at the very end of this. Put yourself in her shoes for just a moment. Like, you've had a long courtship with somebody, and then all of a sudden they've known someone for couple of weeks, couple of months tops, and you show up expecting a wedding proposal and you see them like making goo-goo eyes at someone they've known for a few months at most.
And she's younger.
Or he's younger, insert gender of choice as you will. But, I mean, you would be hurt if you have any sort of heart in you. Mm. And I think that her reaction is not out of the realm of the ordinary,
Yeah, I mean, she even has I don't want to call it a gloat when Maria leaves, but it feels like it. Like she takes the champagne, like, she doesn't say it, but it's a very much I've gotten rid of the competition like gloat. Don't worry, I will convince Georg to let the children perform in the festival. You don't have to talk to Maria, you'll talk to me.
For most of the movie, one of the kind of bad guys, if we're going to call them that, is their friend Max.
Uncle Max, Richard Hayden.
Yeah.
So yeah, even though he is not a blood relative, he is a close friend of Georg, the captain, to the point where the children call him Uncle Max.
Yeah, and we've probably mentioned him in passing because he was also in Young Frankenstein.
A lot of Disney movies as well.
And a lot of Disney movies as well. The thing is that this is another one that's made up for the movie. In reality, the person that talked Georg into turning the family into, I mean, not turning the family into that, but like really kind of turning them into what they became, was a priest that they knew. And he was like, hey, instead of just singing folk songs or whatever, why don't you also do some sacred songs and maybe take the show on the road? And, so this is kind of a made up character to add a bit of,
This feels like they've combined like 5 people in Georg's life into one person.
Yeah, and it probably is. Like, probably if you read the memoir, which I've never been able to, but it's probably just a mishmash of various people in their lives. He comes across as a bit villainous because not only is he sort of, if this were a normal Hollywood movie, he'd be the sort of wormy agent manager guy.
And he's also the one with the Baron saying, hey, you got to get that money. You got to get that money.
Yeah. But the thing that really makes me dislike him, when the threat of annexation starts showing up on the horizon, he is one of those people who he doesn't want to get involved, I almost hate those people more than anything else,
Oh, I'm not into politics.
Yeah. And one of the first things he says that kind of let you know that maybe this is not a guy to be trusted, other than the fact that he's in the backseat of the car being like, oh, I gotta find some singing group to exploit, which is one of the first things he kind of says when we're introduced to him. When the subject of politics and the possibility of annexation comes up as they're standing out there on the patio or whatever at Georg's house trying to figure out where the children are and all that, right before Rolf shows up.
Yeah, Lessel's boyfriend.
Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. I got a lot to say about that little freak. Anyway, Georg says that he is very opposed to this. Max says, like, well, people think we should be more German or whatever, and Georg's like, screw that, And Max says, and it's such a brilliantly stomach-turning line, what's going to happen will happen. You just have to make sure it doesn't happen to you. Which is such a disgusting line.
And, it's a thought that, unfortunately, a lot of people in our country, we are based in the United States, have that mentality. What's going to happen is going to happen regardless if anyone likes it. Just make sure make sure it doesn't happen to you.
And if you're one of those people and you're listening to this, I want you to know I hate you. The thing is that is the thing he says where I was like, oh yeah, I'm glad he sort of comes around at the end and finally does the right thing in being a distraction long enough for them to run away. But my dude, that is all of the wrong things you just said.
Let's kind of briefly go through the story here. We have Maria. She is a nun at an abbey, but she's kind of the black sheep. She likes to sing. She likes to climb trees. She's a bit trying to find the word.
Flibberty gibbet, a will-o'-the-wisp, the clown.
Well, I was going to say something else, but head in the clouds, very naive about the world. She trying to have this, she doesn't quite fit in at the abbey, and the other nuns are like, yeah, I don't know how we're going to deal with Maria. What's the word that describes Maria? So they ultimately said, hey, there's this family that needs a governess, and since you seem to not quite fit in around here, I'm going to give you the chance to go out into the world and see and be their governess and just kind of, see what's out there for you. Because she is young. She is young. As I've said, the real Maria von Trapp was in her early 20s when she married. So she really hasn't experienced the world yet. So it's like, are you sure you want to devote the rest of your life to God before you even had a chance to quote unquote live? So there she is. She has been sent off to the Von Trapp family to be their governess. And she's not the first governess, and there's been multiple governesses. Yeah.
I think that they say she's like the 12th or the 14th or something like that. I forget the exact number, but it's pretty high.
But it has nothing to do with the children. Yes, the children act up, but they even say they only act up to get the attention of their father. The reason the governesses never last is because of the strict rules of Captain Von Trapp here. He runs his family the way he would run a military troop, with them in uniforms, and they're marching, and they have strict meal times and bedtimes and whatnot. This is one of those things that is exaggerated for the film, again, to kind of give an arc to the captain of being this, very stern, closed off person. He's still in a way mourning his dead wife, even though he is trying to move on, and he has closeted his feelings. He has even taken music away from the children. No one sings in the house. No one runs and plays and has fun. It's all strict rules and regulations. That's why I say there's a lot of similarities in Sound of Music to The King and I.
Later on, the Baroness even says one of the reasons why they're not already engaged and or married is that he said he was waiting because he was still in mourning for his wife, who in real life died of scarlet fever, in case anybody was wondering that.
When you put all of it together, it does come a bit weird. He is still mourning his wife. He's not ready to quite devote himself to another woman yet. Having this long courtship from the Baroness, and then all of a sudden, this young woman from an abbey comes in, and it's almost love at first sight. So you wouldn't marry me because you were mourning your wife. This young 20-something comes in here, and all of a sudden you're going goo-goo eyes at her.
Yeah, I do feel for the Baroness in a little bit. I think when I was a kid watching this movie, I think I was like, boo, Baroness, go away, Maria is the best. And it's not that I dislike Maria, because I don't think Maria did anything wrong. Like, you can't really help who you fall in love with, I guess. But also, I don't think the Baroness really acted inappropriately at any point during this film.
And they want you to hate the Baroness. That's the thing. Is like the like I said, they're having her be more money driven, wanting to send the kids to boarding school. She tries playing with the children, and it doesn't really go well.
Okay, but is that her or is that the kids? Because she's not Maria.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I mean, she's trying. When she first arrives and the kids are singing for her, she's like, you didn't tell me your children were so charming. Oh my goodness, I love this, you know? And it's really only when, like, Maria starts taking over everything and the children are, like, ignoring her and treating her kind of crappily that she's like, boarding school, you know? But also remember, like, what's the first thing Maria says when she gets the placement as the governess? They're like, there's a guy with 7 children, and she's like, 7 children? And the mother superior or whatever's like, I thought you liked children. And she's like, yeah, I like children, but 7? I kind of feel for the Baroness. Like, even if you like children, 7? Come on, that's a lot when you're coming into a family.
Mm-hmm.
Bless anybody who is a step parent or an adoptive parent or, you know, whatever. Because being a parent of any kind is difficult enough as it is. Like, even if you give birth to the child and are there from, like, its very first breath, okay? Coming in to a child's life after they already have, like, a sense of self and a history with another parent or another family or whatever, that is 2,000 times more difficult.
And half these kids are almost adult age. 16 going on 17, as the song goes.
Oh, we will get to that. But I think anybody coming into that situation is gonna have worries, adjustment periods, whatever. And I'm not putting, like, blame on the kids, because they are kids. Let us remember these are children who have been through a traumatic event. You know, I think this woman is trying her best, you know, like.
Shout out Riki Lindholm as we are recording this. She released a new song. Riki Lindholm, one half of Garfunkel and Oates, and you know her from Drunk History and a bunch of other things, released a song that was basically the Baroness's villain song, if she had one in the movie.
Yeah, it is called So Long Farewell, and it is a banger. Go look it up on YouTube. Riki Lindholm is just awesome in her music. So, yeah, it is amazing, and no one's favorite thing is string. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, so maybe a bit of justice for the Baroness. I hope that in the world of this film, she was able to find a way out of occupied Austria for a time and was able to find a nice not Nazi to marry.
Now that you brought it up the string, how the hell did My Favorite Things become a freaking Christmas song? That has been the thing that has bothered me as long as I have known of this musical's existence and known of that song. It has somehow become a Christmas standard. Why? Someone explain to me why does this song about Maria's favorite things qualify as a Christmas song? Is it because it mentions snow?
That seems to be everyone's kind of going theory. Whenever I try to figure it out, it just seems to be like, well, it mentions wintry stuff. It mentions packages and snowflakes and sleigh bells and stuff. Like...
Okay, are we Counting Crows' Long December as a Christmas song because it mentions December? Or in the last decade, people putting Let It Go in their Christmas rotation? No.
To be honest, I would consider Let It Go to be more of a Christmas song than My Favorite Things.
Fair enough. You know what? Now that we've had that talking point, let's talk about Rolf.
Yep.
Let's talk about Rolf. Liesel's boyfriend, 17 going on 18, or 33, or 45, depending if you want to watch that SNL sketch.
Yeah.
Right out of the gate, when he, because he is a delivery boy, we know what side he's on when he first delivers that telegram to Uncle Max, and he hiles.
Well, we know that even beforehand because he shows up and he mentions again, because it's mentioned a couple of times in the movie, he kind of lets his sympathies drop when he first shows up to deliver a telegram at the first time we see him, and he says something about people wishing we could be more German, and then that comes up again just before he shows up and does the Heil when he shows up later to deliver the telegram to Max. Okay, so I'm just going to say 16 going on 17 does not get enough chatter in lists of greatest villain songs, but it really needs to be talked about more in that list.
He does call her baby a lot, and you would think under, slang terms he's referring as an affectionate nickname for your romantic partner, but he's literally referring to her as a baby, a child. You are naive about the world.
Yeah, the funny thing is that, when they filmed this for the movie, the actress that was playing Liesel, Charmaine Carr, she was 21. So, I want, like, every young girl to be shown this and be like, if a guy ever talks to you like this, I don't care what age he is, run away.
You are young and you need an older man to tell you what to do.
Yeah, I don't care if he's just a year older. I don't care if he's like a month older. I don't care if he's younger even. But like if any guy talks to you like this, run away. And what's so funny is like he's super into her, and then the second that he falls in with the party, she's like, hi, because she doesn't really know that he's like gone complete Nazi at that point, and she runs into him again. She's like, Hi, Rolf, hello, it's me, your sweet little baby boo. And he's like, yeah, I don't have time for romance anymore. I am doing more important things.
And you think, okay, we are skipping ahead here, and again, we're going on the assumptions that at least some one of you are at least familiar with the story of the movie. Fast forwarding it towards the end of the movie, he is now full Reich, full Reich regalia, and he is going after them as they're trying to run away. He's threatening them, but it's like, stop or I'll shoot. Don't come near me or I'll kill you. But the acting is there's this fear in his eyes that he can't pull the trigger. He can't do it. You think there's going to be this moment of realization, this moment of his love for them, for this, not just for Liesel, but for the family. He's known these people for so long. You think that he would at least let them go, or at least make us some sort of distraction or something. Because it does look like the captain is getting through to him. You don't have to do this. Come with us. It doesn't have to be this way. You don't have to be like them.
Well, he even says you'll never be one of them. And that's the breaking point for Rolf. He wants to be one of them so badly that's the point when he snaps and he rats them out.
Because up to that point, you would think, okay, this is a bright, sunny Broadway musical. We're gonna, even if he doesn't go with them, he will have that.
I'll buy you a few minutes, yeah.
That moment of redemption. I'll buy you a few minutes, and we don't even have that. What we do get, though, in the moment of redemption, are the nuns that hated Maria.
Well, they didn't hate her. They just knew that the life of a nun was not for her.
When you see the nun that called her a clown say, "Forgive me, mother, for I have sinned," and she's holding car parts in her hand.
Okay, and here's the one part where I'm gonna take issue with the movie. Okay? Sisters, you have done no sin. Nothing you do to stop a Nazi from Naziing will ever be a sin. If you stop a Nazi from Naziing, you have done a good and righteous act. Always. Bless you, sisters. If it is stealing car parts, if it is lying straight to their face, if it is punching them in their stupid face, any tiny or large thing you do to stop a Nazi from achieving whatever the Nazi wants to do, that is a good and righteous act. There is no sin. So that is my one beef with the movie. It's a funny line, but it is an inaccurate line.
Also, I know it's kind of late into this podcast to say it, but bring back intermissions.
Especially in Marvel films. We love Marvel films. We say it all the time. We have not hit superhero fatigue. We have not hit Marvel fatigue. We love them, but please give us a pee break.
There is an app called Run Pee that will tell you, okay, pee at this part of the movie and you won't miss anything. But if you're going to continue to give us 3-hour superhero movies or 3-hour musical movies, Universal, 3-hour movies that is one act of a play, give us intermissions. If in the 1960s I would have seen Sound of Music, and there's that Act 1 break where we get the intermission, I'm thanking people so I can just run to the restroom.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And kudos to the version that is on Disney Plus that has actually kept the intermission in the movie. Because I have seen versions of the movie that cut that out. Whatever restoration they did on this movie, they kept that in, and I thank you for that. Also, whoever did the restoration on this movie looks gorgeous.
Oh, yeah. Oh, okay. I total tangent, but I have to say my other big beef with this movie, and it has nothing to do with the making of this movie. It has to do with Disney Plus. Or whoever Disney Plus hired. There is actually a credit attribution at the end of the film. Whoever did the captions for this film, I would like to smack them in the face with a large trout. What is wrong with these people? The Do Re Mi song in this film, the captions are so nonsensical. Because it's a song that is based on audio puns. Okay? And I realize that that's sort of difficult to caption for a non-hearing audience, okay? But there are ways to do that. Okay? You put do, D-O, and then in parentheses you put D-O-E. Okay? And then you say a deer, a female deer. Okay? So that they understand that this is a common tactic in captioning when there's a pun. Okay? You put the word they're actually saying, and then in parentheses you put the word that it sounds like to a hearing audience, so that a non-hearing audience understands this is an audio joke. Okay? And then you do Ray, R-E, parentheses, Ray, R-A-Y, okay, drop of golden sun. They do not do this in the captions. They do the do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Also, they misspell sol, because if you know the musical notation, you know that it's sol, S-O-L, not so, S-O. Okay? Now, it's pronounced like S-O and S-E-W, okay? But it's spelled S-O-L, okay? The problem is that they just do the sound-alike words, and they don't do the actual, like, musical notation. So it makes less sense as a punny song. And I really, really dislike the way that they did it, and it drove me nuts, and I was screaming at my TV. Anyway, if anybody out there ever works in captions, that is how you do audio puns in captions. Remember that. That is the accepted way to do audio puns in captions. And if you do it wrong, it makes me want to smack you in the face with a large trout. So let's talk about one of the songs they added for the movie. I mentioned there were 2 new songs for the movie. We mentioned I Have Confidence. It's a cute enough little song. It gets Maria from point A to point B. But the song that I really love, and it's my second favorite song in the movie, Something Good, which was added for this film, is kind of the anti-version of 16 Going on 17, honestly. Like, they want to portray 16 Going on 17 as a sort of romantic song. It's even set in the same gazebo, you know?
Yeah.
But 16 Going on 17 is a couple that should not be together. Where the man is trying to control the woman, and, But Something Good is a really beautiful ballad between two equals, really, by this point in the movie. Even though he's technically still her employer, they've become
close.
Equals at this point.
And at this point, the Baroness is already knowing what's going on.
Well, no, the Baroness has walked away by this point.
Yeah. She has said, you know what?
You're in love with her. She's in love with you. I'm gone. You know,
and the fact that she walks away, like I said, the entire setup is to make you believe that she is the villain, she's a villainous character, and that in that last act of nobleism, you know what? You want to be with her. She wants to be with you. I'm going to walk away. I'm not going to get revenge. I'm not going to be a harpy about the situation. You two want to be together. Be happy. I'm going to walk away. So yeah, there's this moment now. He's like, hey, you know, me and the Baroness called it off, and this is where they express their feelings for each other. You know, I've loved you since the day you fell off that canoe.
Yeah, but the thing about this song is that Maria really kind of had a difficult beginning. You know, in the reality of Maria's life, she tried very hard to overcome that. You know, there was a lot of pain and horror kind of in the background of her life. She finally went into this abbey and was going to become a nun, and that didn't work out for her. It's interesting because you can also, when he starts singing it, I mean, this is a guy that did, even though he was considered a war hero, you know, war heroes generally only get that way through kind of horrific deeds, you know? Even if you can say they're justified. So you've got these two people that have had so much bad in their life, but you know, like the song says, here's their something good, you know? It's gonna sound weird, but my favorite cover of this song is Seth MacFarlane's cover of this song from one of his albums. The arrangement of it is just incredible. If you've never heard it, go look it up. He put up a copy of it on YouTube. It's available on like basically every music service. So whatever your music service of choice is, go give it a listen. It's a really incredible arrangement.
I do like, you know, because he's trying the you know, Georg kind of has this moment right after they have their song and they confess their feelings for each other. Like, okay, you don't have a family. Who do I ask for your hand in marriage? And she says, the children. Ask the children. And I kind of like that. And they just fast forward through their whole thing. You know, he goes through the wedding, and that's sped through, and they're on their honeymoon, and then, like you said, the occupation happens. All throughout the movie, the Von Trapp household has had an Austrian flag hanging out over it. And once this happens, since again they are on their honeymoon, everything goes down. this person who was kind of, we haven't mentioned him yet, but he's kind of been kind of a background a-hole character, moving himself up in the world. Says, Colonel von Trapp has this Austrian flag in front of his house where all houses are now required to hang the flag of the Third Reich. We fixed that issue. So they've deliberately taken down his Austrian flag and forcefully put up a Nazi flag in its place. And yes, this is where the famous GIF of bringing down the Nazi flag and tearing it in half, that is from this movie. That is from that scene. It is, Christopher Plummer tearing down a Nazi flag and tearing it in half. Yes, that is from this movie, and that is from that scene where he comes home from his honeymoon and finds that they have hung a Nazi flag in front of his house.
I mentioned that Something Good was my second favorite song, but let's talk about my favorite song. The kind of emotional part of this movie, I would argue, is a song that gets mistaken for a much older song. It is not an older song. It was written specifically for the musical Edelweiss. It is not, as many people think, a traditional Austrian folk song. No, it was written by Rodgers and Hammerstein. It was written specifically for the stage show. And like I said, it was the last lyrics that Oscar Hammerstein wrote before his death. The song is kind of the heart of their patriotism and their love of homeland, especially for Georg.
He is a very proud Austrian man. Like I said, he hangs the Austrian flag on his home and is very upset when it is forcefully taken down and a Nazi flag is put up in its place. He sings it twice in the movie. The first time he sings it to the children after they have sang and music has been brought back into the family. He sings that song to them, and he sings it again at the festival. He has been asked to join the Third Reich's naval force, and this is his form of a protest. He says, I'm going to sing a song. It's a love song, and it's a love I hope everyone in this building has with me, and love of our homeland. And he sings this song, Don't Let Your Love for our home die. And he sings it, and, he gets very emotional when he's singing it, to the point where he kind of almost breaks down because he knows what's about to happen. He will, if he doesn't escape, he will be forced into service. He will very likely never see, one, his family, and two, possibly his homeland ever again. So this is his protest song in that. And just the emotion is there, and then the family comes in and sings the song with him. And the rest of the people at the festival sing along with them, their own patriotism, their own love of their homeland, and in a way, their own protests against the Nazi Party.
Yeah, because in that same scene, when they find out that he's basically being press ganged into service, the audience does not really take well to it, Yeah,
the Max, who was the MC for the event, he says, this, I'm going to give them a little bit more extra time to sing because Captain Von Trapp, he may not, this might be the last time we hear the Von Trapp family sing together for a very long time, because Captain Von Trapp is being shipped out to being the naval officer in the Third Reich, and that gets the big shock from the crowd, and they just murmur, and it's like they are very much not on board with this idea. So when he sings a song about the love of his homeland, everyone else starts singing with him. Like I said, a form of protest.
Yeah, this song is just one of the most beautiful pieces of music. Just the lyrics are so simple. The tune is so beautiful. And it really, I mean, kind of in the interest of full disclosure, you know, my family is, prior to coming to the U.S., is Austrian, and specifically from Salzburg. So this is kind of my heritage. Even though this is not a traditional, whatever, it really is, I don't know. It was also, when I was growing up, this was one of my mother's favorite songs, and she would sing it a lot. So I have lots of good memories of my mother just wandering around the house and singing this song.
Like I said, they're given an encore because of Georg being shipped out, and give him one last chance to sing with his family, and they do the So Long Farewell song, each of them walking off the stage with their respective part as they are escaping, and this is all part of the thing for them to escape, and it's really a whiplash, because for the first 2.5 hours of this movie, it's been, yes, it's been in the background. The Nazi stuff has been in the background because it's all about the story of the Von Trapp family and Maria becoming a part of the family, and the love story between Georg and Maria. But they really make you feel the fear, especially when, we're going to try to slowly and quietly escape, trying to get out of the country before everything goes down and they get caught, and in order to save their own lives they have to perform at the festival, and they do the and they're trying to get out of there. They run out after their set and escaping, and the Nazis are chasing after them, and it's just this tonal whiplash, but it kind of has to be, because they really want you to feel this threat of how much, and the fear, and we're not sure if we're even going to get out of this thing alive, and not even singing about our favorite things is going to get us out of this one.
Yeah, I like the youngest girl, they're hiding in a crypt, waiting for the Nazis to come by, kind of search the area and hopefully move on. And the youngest girl is like, "Mommy," because the Maria's, married now and they're calling her mommy. She's like, "Mommy, would it help if we sang about our favorite things now?" For the first time, Maria's like, "No, this is the one time singing about things would absolutely not help." Because the whole movie, she's like, "Oh, do we have bad feelings about things? Are we scared about something? Let's sing about it." And then, this is the first time in the movie where Maria's like, "No, singing about it would absolutely be our death right now."
Because it's like the entire movie has been, Maria has this song in her heart that she has to push out. She doesn't know why, but she needs to sing. She needs to talk. She needs to express herself. And this is the one moment that expressing herself would kill her and her brand new family.
I mean,
But
bravo to the movie for making that just the most tense scene.
yeah, and like I said, with Rolf coming in, and it's your eldest daughter's now ex-boyfriend pointing a gun at you, saying he's going to kill you, and you're doing your damnedest to try to talk him down, but it just does not work. He goes completely into the Nazi ideology. I want to be one of them. I will do anything to be one of them, and if that means turning you in, I will do it.
You know what? I hope in the universe of this movie, really bad things happen to Rolf. Don't you?
Yeah.
Don't you hope he got sent to the front line somewhere and just had a really bad time?
I hope he ended up in London and ended up face to face with Angela Lansbury. Because meanwhile, over in there, she's practicing witchcraft.
Yeah.
But yeah, they do eventually escape and get out of the country, and the movie just ends. Like, they escape from the Nazis. They go over. They literally climb every mountain as the song "Climb Every Mountain" is playing.
Yeah, and this is possibly another one of the big things that they've changed in the movie, because they did not have to climb any mountains to, they just went to a train station. They got on a train station and they, traveled to Italy because that was the country that Georg had citizenship in, and by default of him having citizenship in, his family had citizenship in, and so they went to Italy, and then they stayed in Italy for a little bit, got all their papers, like the proof that, technically we have right to Italian citizenship, and they were like, oh yeah, you're right. And then from there they were able to like travel to England, like I said before, because there weren't any travel restrictions at the time between Italy and the UK, and then they were able to make it to the US because at the time there weren't any travel restrictions between Italy and the US. And once they were in the US, they were like, okay, we would like to officially apply for like refugee status and citizenship status and whatever in the US. And honestly, one of Georg and Maria's children was actually born in the US and was just a US citizen anyway. So yeah, it was not at all as like, I mean, I guess it would have made like a less interesting ending to the movie if they'd have just been like, okay, children, pack your stuff. We're going to the train station today. Does everybody have your passports ready? Like,
Less cinematic.
yeah, it's a bit less cinematic than like, let's climb over the mountains we've been singing about for 3 hours.
I mean, that's kind of the point. You end the movie the way you began the movie, because the movie begins on that same mountain with Maria all alone, singing about the hills are alive with the sound of music, and the movie ends with her and her new family silent, climbing every mountain.
The hills are alive with the sound of helicopters, though, because that's kind of how we begin and end the movie.
Yeah. They're beautifully shot.
I mean, it is. Can you imagine if they were doing that today with like drones? They'd like they'd swoop in and put that drone like directly in Julie Andrews' face,
Yeah.
Speaking of, if we were making this movie today, I am so glad Disney does not own NBC, because we do not have to talk about The Sound of Music Live.
Oh.
The Sound of Music Live on NBC was maybe one of the biggest train wrecks of a I mean, it's hard to gauge these things because most of them are really bad. Pretty much every time we have one of these, we're doing a live musical on TV, boy, do they suck.
That was the one with Carrie Underwood, right?
Yeah, it had Carrie Underwood, who, I mean, I don't hate her. She's got a good voice for what she does, and I like some of her songs. Okay. She was maybe not meant to be an actress, and she does not have the correct voice for Maria. Yeah.
I mean, since it aired on Fox, we could potentially talk about Grease Live or the Rocky Horror Show Live.
We're talking about this train wreck right now, okay? The thing is that the captain was played by Stephen Moyer, who I really do like his work. You know, he did a fine enough job, but like, man, it was just a really train wreck. Yeah. Most of the cast was fine. I'm not, I mean, Carrie Underwood really was not meant to play Maria. Her voice is good, but it's not a good voice for Maria. So that's kind of what I'm saying about that. It's one of those, maybe only watch it if you're chemically altered and around friends and want to play Mystery Science Theater with it. But as for this movie, do we want to ask the question?
Yeah, let's do that. Kiki, does the Sound of Music, the Julie Andrews movie, have the magic?
I mean, it does. Of course it does. It's Julie Andrews. How you gonna hate on Julie Andrews?
I will say yes. My only complaint, if I were to have a complaint, a few too many reprises for my taste in terms of a musical. A few too many. And reprises in full, like the full song is completely reprised, especially in the. I understand why, because again, it's the festival and they wanted to sing the songs. I get it, but other than that, the movie is great. The movie definitely has the magic. It is a classic, and there is a reason why this is a movie that is shown on television every year around this time, and you owe it to yourself to watch this movie at least once in your life.
Yeah, probably more than once.
Yeah.
It's got nuns messing with Nazis, so come on. You know you want to watch that.
Yeah. So concludes our final episode of 2024. As for next week, we are going back. We did this old school Fox movie. Let's do some old school Disney. The Absent-Minded Professor, the original with Fred MacMurray. When we were talking about doing this episode, that movie for the podcast, I did ask Kiki if she wanted to do the original or the version that our generation would probably be more familiar with, the remake with Robin Williams, and she did say let's do the original since we haven't done much of the old school live action movies. We really don't do them, and this was a movie that I grew up watching it on the Disney Channel. I am more familiar with the Fred MacMurray original than the Robin Williams remake, so it will be a bit of my childhood coming back next week.
Yeah, same for me. I grew up watching this one more than the remake, so yeah.
So yes, to all of you, we hope that you do have a happy new year. We will see you in 2025. Until then, happy new year. Enjoy yourself. And I guess we can end this a little differently than we normally do. As they say in the movie, so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, adieu. Bye.
Goodbye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available every Monday at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com and youtube.com/@rewatchingthemagic. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.